Welcome to Best in Faction,
the next generation.
A podcast where we talk about the super hype Q1 2024 data slate. Let's go! It came out this morning.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Lucas. Oh no. I'm hiding.
And today is the day of all days because it is, in fact, the final day. It all started in Vegas, and here we are again talking about the Las Vegas Open 2024, the capstone of the Warhammer 40K singles season. None of us did well because only one of us went, and he did poorly. But we're going to get all into that in a minute. You're not going to want to miss it. But before that, I want to hand it over to our special guest of the hour, which is the man, the myth, the legend who started it all, Mr. Colin Sherman.
Hey, thanks, guys, for having me. For those that don't know, I know that you guys are going to know what's going on with them, but also the network in general is just going to stop. And as we get to that part of my journey, it's fun for me to kind of wish the people that are on the journey, the next generation. I don't know how to put those words together, but it's really fun for me to come on and say goodbye to these guys because so thing happened that ended up being great with the name of the show, but I didn't know was going to happen. And that's that when the next generation came out, the old generation became irrelevant. In fact, I met these guys when I was at the top of my playing of 40K. And they were on the uprise, and then I started playing less, and I thought there was going to be this time. Like, when I met them, Chuck and I both knew they'd end up better than us because they were too good, and they were like 12. And so we knew that there'd be the maximum combination of ability to remember things and free time would combine, and it would become a problem for us later. We joked about it. There was a tournament we were at, I don't remember which one it was, and we were sharing a hotel room. We were joking about the fact that the three of you guys were going to be unbeatable because you were simply going to play more than us. Now, what I didn't realize is that when you played more than us, it would be against other people from the WTC. That wasn't actually fair. But anyways, I thought there would be this time where my people from, the Western Washington and you guys would be like, trading blows at these tournaments. And instead, Zach stopped playing and left. And I started going to as many tournaments, and the whole makeup of Western Washington's competitive scene changed. So originally the idea was we've got this great vibe on the Best in Faction. It's really great. These guys are also getting into competitive 40K. They're a couple years behind us in our journey. They're a lot younger. They're more enthusiastic. We'll call it the next generation. And like the moment that happened, I stopped being able to go to tournaments for some reason. So that's been like this decline of 40K for me while they've been on their up climb. And now I have to take a break from 40K. And it turns out that running a competitive 40K network, not paying attention to 40K is not a great combination. So I'm extremely happy to be shutting down the network. I don't mean it that way. What I mean is this has been such an amazing experience making all of these shows, starting with the original Best in Faction. And I completely love everything that's happened to this point. And to me, the fact that you guys are going to go do an even better show to an even bigger audience is just incredible. It's just really, really exciting. And I can't say enough about it, and I can't say how well deserved it is. And the final thought I want to make about that is two final thoughts. One of them is I think that when Best in Faction came out, there weren't that many podcasts, right? And for 40K that were really competitively focused, and that's how we got our connection. But our vibe was always different. And so when you guys took that vibe and some of that went to Stat Check and some of it left when Frontiers left and they went to other shows. And I kind of like the idea that there's this positivity about competitive 40K. Just go to tournaments. It's going to be okay. People are going to take care of you. It's okay to be honest when things are a problem. I'd like to think, and I hope that you guys will agree with me, that is what continues on in all these different shows. And so I can't think of anybody that I think will continue that on better than the three of you guys. So thank you for being a part of that and a part of everything we've done. And the final thing, it really is the friends you meet along the way, because I'm not going to stop doing Charity Hammer. It's literally the shirt I'm wearing for an incredible. I changed my shirt to come on the show so I could demonstrate that there's going to be Charity Hammer. So I'm going to keep doing Charity Hammer because I don't want to be done with the community and I don't want to be done with these guys. I mean, Naja's going to be sick and unable to come, but these guys, nonetheless. So, thank you guys. That's what I wanted to say. And I'll give you your show back.
Thank you, Colin, for coming on. It was cool the last couple of years to really grow from being just like a nobody who went to my FLGS and now we're all on the we were all nobodies at our local FLGS and now we're players in the WTC. And like the biggest catalyst for that all happening was you taking us on kind of like under your wing and making us not only a part of the Best in Tabletop Network, but also just like bringing us into the 40K zeitgeist, as it were. So I think we're all going to be really grateful for you for doing that for us. So thanks so much. It's actually the Charity Hammer magic wand, if you don't know. It's not me. It's the Charity Hammer wand. If you get invited to Charity Hammer, you're either going to end up on Team USA, going to some tournament in Finland you don't know about, or a coach on Art of War. Like those are like the paths from Charity
You got
Hammer.
3 options, and it's going to be one of those 3. Yeah. I'm excited Charity Hammer's continuing, and I can't wait for it next year.
Yeah, well, and I'm going to need you guys to publicize it, right? Because I'm not going to have a show, which actually sounds really nice. So, if there's anything else for me, guys, I'll let you do your last show.
Thank you so much, Colin.
Yeah.
Thanks, Colin.
Guys,
Much.
We'll see y'all soon.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty, so I realized that we probably should have started that with some logistics formalisms first, because not everyone's in the Patreon and not everyone knows what the hell is going on. If you haven't caught on just yet, this is in fact the final episode of Best in Faction: The Next Generation, and I believe it is also the final. No, it is the penultimate piece of content that will be put out by the Best in Tabletop Network. They're going to do a final OG show on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And in the wake of that news, you have no need to be sad for our removal from the competitive 40K space, as we will still be here, and we will be making a new show all about Pass the Pigs, like we promised from the beginning. It's going to be fantastic. And for more details on that, let's take a quick sidebar and take a peek at a little announcement video that you may have seen already if you've been following some other competitive 40K networks. So for those of y'all who are listening on audio only and are very confused, having never heard the extended cut edition of the TNG theme song before and what that was all about, because it was all in visuals, because I made that late at night and didn't want to record audio. We are moving to our friends over at Stat Check. You are looking at the three hosts of the newest show on the Stat Check network, which is called Take All Comers, or TAC for short. Got to have a snappy three-letter initialism, and it's got to start with T. So we're maintaining those two integral core components of the show, in addition to everything else. Take All Comers is a exciting new opportunity for us in terms of audience and collaboration and branding, frankly. But it's not a massive reinvention of the wheel here. We really like what we do on TNG, and we're going to like what we're doing on TAC as well. So look forward to a lot of the same kind of stuff, with maybe a little bit more Stat Check kind of polish. I will happily field questions from the comments, but I have to also mention that Colby called our show Past the Pigs the Old World for the new one, and Old World Past the Pigs, absolutely going to be a thing. Colby asked, do we have the same art? We have, and Kim asked, do we have the same music? We will have new music, but it's going to be similar music. Like we're doing a remix of our current vibe. The art, we have our avatars from Goat Boy. They're awesome. We might keep using those in things, but they don't really fit the Stat Check ethos, which is why we have that new logo that was shown off in the thing. I'm realizing that I probably should have had it ready to pull up as a backdrop. That'll show up at some point. But we do have new branding and stuff to fit with the Stat Check ethos a little bit more. There we go. Oh, how do I make it? Do I do this? No. How about, there's got to be a way to do this. Nope. Come back, friends. I'm so good at technology. That's why I'm on the show. How about that? Hey, we did it. I figured it out. So you can see our new logo there, the little Take All Comers Swiss Army knife. It's going to be fun. We'll hopefully get some branded stuff with that in the future.
I don't even know if I know what all those weapons are.
Really?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't get any Votan hammers in there. But...
What's the third one?
The third one from the right? I guess it's the middle one, the third one from either side.
Yeah.
That's like it's a big choppa. I think technically it might be like a fantasy big choppa. But it's definitely orc.
What's the fourth one?
That was like a flamer, dude.
Oh no, that's a plasma rifle from Tau.
Yes. Having made this, like I'm very intimately familiar with what these look like before they got turned into solid white. But yeah, it's a Thunderhammer, a plasma rifle, a big choppa, a Rod of the Covenant, or a Staff of Light. I don't really know the difference in a Scything Talon. The problem with the Votan stuff, Nick, was that all of it looks like ludicrously generic when you put it in silhouette, especially the hammers. So we went with the Thunderhammer instead because it's got a much more iconic shape.
No comment.
Kevin already says that it's phallic, and that's part of the point. The name of the show is Take All Comers. Anywho,
Nice.
Make your face bigger. Goddamn, that beard is out of control. Okay, Kim.
What is happening in the chat?
Hey, wow, this is okay. We're gonna go back to. Nope, that's not right. That's not. Nope. That one. Great.
This is right.
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm gonna mute the chat so I don't have to read that.
Whatever the case, that is to say that you'll be able to find us on Stat Check on their YouTube and on their podcast feed as well. Our first show, as teased in the trailer there, will be on February the 8th in 2 weeks from today. And after that, I believe we are going to be moving back to Saturday mornings if everything goes according to plan, which will be very nice as a reprieve to the week nights. How are you guys feeling about this move, this transition? What are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? In what is definitely the biggest step that our content has taken so far.
I'm excited. I like that we're gonna keep a lot of the things that made our show really awesome, which is like the kind of content we're producing and our general vibe, just having been homies for so long. It's gonna be nice to kind of have that same nuclear family in a different place. But also I'm excited for what's coming. I think the opportunity to collaborate with a lot of people, the Stat Check Network is full of players from all sorts of different world-class teams and also who really understand Warhammer really well and are super involved in the community, like all the people running the numbers obviously on the stats and then players as well. So getting to collaborate and talk and like be more involved with all those folks is going to be really fun. Just excited. I think collaborations is the thing I'm most excited for. Just being able to go on all the other shows and have other folks come on our show, if at all possible, I think would be really cool. I know we've already had some ideas about how to improve bit reps, maybe involving some of the other people on the network. The sky's the limit, right? We don't really know what's coming. Other than that, it's going to be good stuff. So I'm just excited to see some new things.
Absolutely.
I think I'm most excited to have the ridiculously loud Goonhammer outro music thrown at the end of our videos. Fingers crossed. No, for real though, like when we kind of knew behind the scenes that Colin was like thinking of shutting down stuff because he's like, I'm not super involved with 40K anymore. I haven't like been able to put as much time into it. And so we were kind of thinking like, are we going to do our own thing? And just the opportunity to, like what Lucas was saying, work with people that are super knowledgeable in areas that we're not. And I think it'd be super cool to get someone to like collab on some of the bit reps, because I know Lucas has been doing a lot of that like narration on his own. Like what if we get someone who's like, I'm really good at Death Guard, and they come in and like start talking about like, here's what I think the Death Guard player should do. That'd be super cool. So yeah, and I think we're gonna bring something that like StatCheck doesn't really have yet on their network. Kind of like our more singles focus, but like I feel like we kind of break the game down a lot more than like some of the other podcasts out there that I've heard. There's a lot of kind of like focusing on like what's meta, what's the best, like not a lot of like kind of like deep dive into like particularly something, it's a lot of like, if you're not playing like the best thing, like let's write it off and keep moving, right? And something that too, like I know we're going to be talking about like LVO tonight and like talking about like our tournament runs. Like a lot of people don't go like super in depth on the tournament runs, especially tournament runs where they don't do super well. And I think that that's like one of the things that like in the past we've gone over some of those that we don't do super well at maybe, and like kind of like the learning experiences from that. So looking forward to more of that in the future, boys.
Absolutely, yeah. We're very excited to slot into that sort of middle area of 40K on StatCheck. Very personal improvement oriented and very like accessible at the same time. A lot of the advice that you hear on like Enter the Matrix or that you hear from the main StatCheck stuff is very useful if you know exactly what they're talking about, and is very, very high level. We're a much more nitty gritty, knee deep in the nonsense kind of thing, which may be a little bit less, I don't know, exciting to armchair about, but hopefully can lead to people picking up a thing or two, who maybe don't get to play quite as many games every week as we have the privilege to, because at the end of the day, that's what makes us good at Warhammer. Sweet. Yeah, so that's all coming up. Look forward to all of that. And I think with that, we should be good to move on in to our main topic of tonight, which is, of course, as Lucas said earlier, the balanced data slate, which dropped this morning. What are your thoughts, Lucas, on the changes to orcs?
Yeah, it's fantastic, dude. Honestly, Here We Go becoming Phantasm is so fucking good. Just being able to move your knobs at any point in time is pretty good. And all our players prepare to cry.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm very excited to see what you're able to do with some of the movement shenanigan-y nonsense that comes with being a full advance and charge army, especially now that you call the WA at the player turn instead of the battle round like you've always wanted to. I just feel like that's going to give you such a more dominant control over the movement phase. What are your thoughts on the new 6-point boys? Do you think that they're going to make a splash in any serious numbers?
I think they're pretty good, especially like in the 30-man squads, having that good old-fashioned 30-man for 180 points. And now it's not even like 8th edition. You're not even paying for the 5-point power claw. You just get that for free. It's pretty sick.
War gear, baby.
And then I think I might like just cram a couple wall banners in there too, so that I can like hope that it works with the Makari interaction.
I mean, they codified it, right? Finally, we've been wondering about that forever.
Yeah, if you ask Justin Curtis's grandmother on a Tuesday, and then make sure that you, I don't know. I ran out of the usual, like if it's raining on a Tuesday trope, but there we go.
No, absolutely.
Excited.
Looking forward to seeing it, man.
Yeah.
So Balanced Data Slate
came in, delivered the data slate this morning to me with my morning coffee. There's one thing that I noticed that especially Rob would be super interested to hear about. Sagittarius have a very interesting change. No points changes, no like specific like war gear changes or anything, which I was pretty surprised about. There's a rules change though that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. They got rid of the for every like one Sagittar, you get to like split Hearthkin warriors into 2 squads of 10. But now it says for every 10 Hearthkin warriors, you can take 2 Sagittars and put 2 squads of 5 inside of them. So, I'm really happy that they clarified that.
Wow.
Don't know why, but Sagittar meta continues, I guess.
Absolutely.
Dominance.
Reaching across twice as many warriors in every Sagittar, dude. That's great.
Yeah.
What's really cool is the GSC change. I think coming back on a 6 is really good. And then with a -1 if you're not battle line, so that your aberrants can't revive. I think that's like super money, and it's a really reliable mechanic that's not going to make anyone upset.
I agree. I think that it
too well at LVO. I think so.
I would agree with that. I think that in particular, pushing aberrants points from 37 up to be on par with their comparison unit, the Deathwing Knight, at 58 seems like an appropriate number of points to pay for that. Are they still worth taking? Probably, frankly. I mean, we don't have any other combat units, and they just do something that no one else does. So they can make this unit cost as many points as they want to, and I'm not going to stop taking it.
I'm a little disappointed with the Necron changes. I think they were a little knee-jerk. I know people were a little worried that the Monolith was going to get nerfed. And I've been telling people all week, the problems are probably like Catan are undercosted, and Wraiths might be a little undercosted, especially with the 4th wound. The Monolith is a very fun piece. Like the fact that the Monolith detachment was played for weeks without the Monolith even in it, and then someone went and won LVO with it, super cool. But the QR code they provided in the Necron page, where they have a video of them dropping the Monolith off GWHQ, little unfortunate. So that thing is now deleted from the game. I believe they increased it to 3,000 points. It's in the model now. So sorry, Necron players. If you have one in your shopping cart, I'd just return it right now if I were you. So
it's still a sick piece of plastic. I'll give it that. I'm very excited to see what the collectors decide to do with them now that they flood back onto the eBay marketplace.
Yeah.
Luckily, with our early podcaster knowledge, though, I was able to flip mine before it was nuked from orbit. So nice. You definitely weren't working on it in the intro, right?
No. That's a different model.
A different model, no less.
Yep. It's actually the obelisk, which they dropped to 100 points.
Yeah, what a bizarre thing. Very exciting. Anyway, for those of y'all who are listening to this in the future, it is January 25th, 2024. If a data slate has actually come out, we don't know about it. And we are very much looking forward to talking about a slate if and when we ever actually freaking get one. We've talked. I know that I didn't listen to y'all's episode last week, but I saw y'all and Taos were talking about what you wanted to see out of it. So we're going to skip that conversation and move on over to the big picture conversation about the Las Vegas Open. I mean, we're already talking about the Monolith here. Nick, I think everyone wants to hear your reaction and breakdown of Matt Laura's glorious victory on the back of that mighty. It's not a tetrahedron. It's just a square pyramid. No, but it's cut off on top. At that mighty frustrum. There we go. There's a cool geometry word for the shape.
Chiralities.
Holy shit. New Tyler word, boys. Write that shit down.
Let's play. Where's that smash alert, dude? new word approaching. All right.
Frustrum.
Yeah.
That's so
fake. For our, little goofy bit there in the intro. There's like a little bit of truth in there. I thought it was super cool to finally see the monolith in the monolith attachment. The hypercrypt lists that had been going around before then just straight up weren't playing it, which is really funny because like I think 2 of these stratagems in the detachment are specific around the monolith, and like 2 more are specific around vehicles. So yeah, you know, it's like a bit of a meme, and it's cool to see something that goofy go so far and be played like at such a high level, especially when it pounds some knife use into the dust. So, you know.
At 3 inches away, though.
Yeah, it's very cool. Do you think that that list has the longevity? Assuming like Slate doesn't nuke it or anything. Like if we kept up with what we're at right now, do you think that that becomes the Necron meta, or is this kind of a fluke that people just weren't ready for?
You know about the monolith or hypercrypt in general?
Both, but particularly the monolith. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on both.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit ago, I think like 2 shows ago, when the FAQ for Necrons was published that removed the devastating wounds interaction from the Canoptech court. And I was saying that I think at this point, like Hypercrypt and even Awakened Dynasties are probably like the 2 better detachments now. Like Court's still good. You know, you can still get full hit rerolls on Immortals, which are a very good unit, especially when paired with the Luminor Xeris, because he gives off the aura that increases their AP by 1 and also reduces incoming AP by 1. So increasing both their output and their longevity. But I do think that just the ability to pick up 3 and sometimes 4 units a turn if you have the enhancement in Hypercrypt, and just being able to deep strike them, bring them from strat reserves, being able to 1 CP 3-inch deep strike any unit. It's just so good with the tactical deck in Warhammer 40k. A lot of the tactical deck, like Lucas and I, it's something that I've been noticing in a lot of our like you know, very close games that we've been playing over the past few months, is he'll position his models very effectively to plan around cards he hasn't drawn yet. And just the ability to like react to, oh, I've drawn behind enemy lines, or I've drawn investigate signals, or I've drawn like, you know, go to this part of the board. Like Hypercrypt can do that so easily. Necrons have just so many like cheap, like the Locust Destroyer. You can bring a single Locust Destroyer for 30 points. And that guy's on like a 50mm base. He's not that hard to sneak in. You can bring 3 Scarabs for like 40 points, which on their own, they're not super great. But when they're in Hypercrypt, now all of a sudden they're like kind of janky Nurglings that can be repositioned every turn. And we all know how good Nurglings are. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of good stuff in the Necron book, especially around this detachment. I think the monolith is a very interesting choice. It's a very risky choice, I think, because it's a 2-up vehicle with no invuln. There is a reactive invuln in Hypercrypt, which is super nice. Probably one of the reasons why it's really good in that attachment. And it also has the ability to teleport other infantry units to it. Because so I am planning on playing this exact list into Lucas tomorrow. I do not have to work tomorrow, which is awesome. So I'm going to be going over and we're going to be playing hopefully 1 or 2 games with this list so I can test it out myself. Looking at it, the Hypercrypt isn't like the infinite mobility that it kind of appears on paper at first, because everything goes into strat reserves, right? So you're limited on coming off from the board edge. There is 1 enhancement you can give to give 1 unit deep strike. So that unit gets like true deep strike every turn, which is sweet. And then obviously you have the 1 CP stratagem to deep strike 3, which works even on a unit in strat reserves. Another thing that was clarified in the Necron FAQ. So the ability for the monolith to pull a unit from out of strat reserves to its position or across the board is super cool, because now it kind of gives you another janky deep strike unit. So yeah, I don't think the monolith is like an auto include, but I certainly think it's a powerful piece that if you like learn how to play it well, can create some very interesting problems your opponent has to solve. Especially when you know, it deep strikes 3 inches into your backfield, and now you have to kill a T13 2-up 24 wound model.
It's T13.
Yeah.
Oh!
It was either T14 and got knocked down to 13, or it was T13 and got knocked down to T12. Yeah, it's T13, 22, not 24 wounds, sorry. T13, 22 wounds, 2-up armor.
Big rock.
And it has Deep Strike innately, which is very high. Yeah. So then you kind of just pair that with some very powerful Catans and very good output of Immortals. I still think that the Locust Exterminator or the Heavy Destroyer squad with the anti-infantry gun is another really good thing to be thrown in Hypercrypt. But Immortals are certainly the thing about Immortals is they're cheaper, and what Laura was doing, which is something that people have been considering with Warriors, especially in Hypercrypt, is pairing them with the Chronomancer, which lets you move 5 inches after shooting. So what you could do is you could do the Deep Strike 3 away, shoot someone, and then move your 10 OC2 bodies onto an objective and go, this is mine now. Which is something that the Enmetic Exterminators can't do, because I don't think you can pair a Chronomancer with them, and it's also only 4 OC2 bodies.
But you can do both, right? You can have a full rerolls Enmetic Exterminator squad and also a squad with a Chronomancer that Deep Strikes at 3, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. You could. You just have to cut some stuff out of what he was running his list. His list is very, it's 2,000 points on the nose. It's 30 Immortals. You got the Monolith. You got the 2 Catan. You've got a bunch of characters, right?
I guess once you buy 2 Catan, a Monolith, 30 dudes, and
well, you're buying Xeris
as well. Yeah.
Yep. And Emotech. See, that Xeris also gets a lot less value the less battle line you have.
What does Emotech do?
Emotech gives you an extra CP every turn when he's on the board, which is pretty nice because that Hypercrypt detachment churns through CP. You're going to be using the 3-inch Deep Strike every turn, so there's 1 CP. And all of the Monolith detachment, or all of the Monolith stratagems are 2 CP.
You also can do every single card because you can Deep Strike at 3, put 4 units in reserve every turn. So you're not exactly getting a lot of CP from recycling.
Yeah,
exactly. So he also can once per game in your command phase do a mini nuke, which obviously doesn't work with deep striking because the deep striking happens at the end of
the storm.
Yeah. So I don't think he's an auto include, but he's certainly very strong.
Nice. Does he automatically stand up, or is that an Awakened Dynasty thing?
The only guys that stand back up, I believe, is Awakened Dynasty. For 1 CP, they can bring back an infantry character the first time it's killed at the end of a phase, and it's once per game per character. That's another reason why I think Awakened's very good, because you just slam Xeris in there with 30, 40, 50 Immortals, and now Xeris is this unkillable beast that can come back to life. So your opponent's not going to want to go after him. He's about he's not as tanky as a Catan, but he's freaking close. He's got Lone Op when he's within 3 of a Necron unit. Might be infantry unit.
It's cool to me that Necrons. I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but it seems to me they are a codex where there's 5 or 6 or 7 good units, and you take them in basically all the detachments, but then they do very different things when they're in different detachments, right? When they're in Awakened Dynasty, they do certain things really well, but then they're really slow and ponderous compared to the Hypercrypt, which teleport around, but then maybe they're easier to kill, or there's not as many, they don't hit as hard or something like that, which is kind of cool. Do you think the Wraiths have any place outside of Canoptech Court? Because Deep Striking Wraiths at 3 and being answer this unit seems kind of cool. I don't know. I could be totally talking out of my ass, though.
I don't think it's terrible. I do think that Wraiths probably are best in Court and Awakened Dynasties. The really cool thing about them being in Awakened Dynasties is Awakened Dynasties has that thing where when a character's in their unit, they get +1 to hit. So now they hit on 3s, and now they're actually kind of something to watch out for. They're not going to be killing any Deathwing Knights that aren't going to be seeing the table anytime soon. But they will definitely claw through some trash. Whereas the guys that hit on 4s in Canoptech Court, if your opponent was good at shutting down your rerolls, might not be cutting their way through the stuff in front of them. But the other cool thing about Wraiths in Awakened Dynasties is the ability to resurrect the Technomancer. Because one of the biggest weaknesses of that unit is someone getting in a melee with you and using the precision stratagem to just yank the Technomancer out of the squad, and now you've lost the 5 of Inlobine. So the fact that the revive stratagem has changed to end of phase is super cool, because it used to in the index be a very weird stratagem where like it happened immediately. So like if they had like 4 attacks go through into your techno and the first 2 killed him, then he'd revive and then he'd have to save the next 2. But this was also depending on if the judge ruled that happened or not. So I'm glad they just made it end of phase to get rid of all that goofy shit. So yeah, I think rates could work in Hypercrypt. But the thing is, I think that the teleport only works when you're not in combat. So it's like kind of this weird unit that's you're spending a bunch of points on that just like goes into your opponent, but like doesn't help you
and sits there.
Points a ton. Yeah. I think that the best thing about it is the ability to just keep redeploying shooting units. And then when you want tanky melee, you play the Catan, which are a little undercosted. You know, like, because if your opponent tries to push in on, because like the best way to counter Hypercrypt is probably just like, okay, your army is like 6 units that actually like, maybe like 3 units that actually do damage that are jumping up and down, and then a bunch of trash. I'm just going to rush you. But then you have the Catan that are like slowly floating up to meet them in the midfield, or are hanging out on your objectives defending them.
Hypercrypt does what GSC is trying to do so much better than GSC. It is physically painful to me to watch.
Yeah.
Like, man, they're real good at that. It's very cool.
Like, well, you were saying that's super cool about Necrons having like a good core, and then each detachment kind of changes how that core plays. Each detachment also kind of unlocks units in different ways. That's super cool. A unit we haven't really seen a lot of is like Triarch Praetorians. Praetorians are something that I think could be pretty good in Hypercrypt, because they have innate deep strike, and they're relatively cheap T5 bodies. Forget if they've changed them to T5 or T6. They're relatively cheap 2 wound bodies. They have fly. They move pretty fast. They have decent damage output. They're not going to be like replacing Immortals as damage, but it's another trash unit that can like maybe actually clear away some of your opponent's trash, and also has innate deep strike, which makes the pick up put down way, way stronger because they're not being put into strat reserves. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of depth to explore still with these detachments, but certainly I think if you really want to get your biggest bang for your buck out of Krons right now, you should be exploring Hypercrypt or Awakened Dynasties.
How did Gaylord end up doing? Do either of y'all know? At Nottingham? Coventry? Nottingham? Whatever tournament it was?
Whatever fucking English city was. Don't really remember.
Yeah, I could go look that up.
I'll do it right now.
I was a little out of the loop over the weekend. I know he was playing an Awakened Dynasties list, correct?
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Because like, obviously Hypercrypt did really well recently. But he was the guy who got everyone excited about Awakened on the internet, at least.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to really diving in. I really wish the data slate had come out this morning, because it does always suck, to be playing when changes are imminent, especially coming up on this like 3-day weekend I've got here, which is going to be a great practice weekend. And then if on Monday all of a sudden things change, so changes I'm expecting are probably like points changes to rates, points changes to Catan. If GW nerfs the monolith, they're ridiculously out of touch. So, yeah. You didn't play against any Hypercrypt at your run at LVO, did you? Or Necrons at all?
No Necrons, no Eldar, which were the 2 things that I was most prepared for.
Yeah, which, I'm surprised because Necrons were, I think, one of the most popular factions there.
Yeah, they were number 2 after Space Marines once you amalgamate Space Marines.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah. I mean, they were the starter army last edition. A lot of people have them, and people got really excited about this new book.
Yep. It turns out people like playing their big, goofy star gods.
Yeah.
Gaylord went 3-2 at Nottingham, by the way.
Oof.
Gotcha. What, do you want to read his list for us?
Sure.
Just to kind of get an idea of like what an Awakened Dynasties list kind of like core could look like.
Yes. Sorry, I just pulled my paintbrush out. Let me get this back open again. So this was at the Nottingham Super Major, which was like 2 weekends ago in merry old England. He is playing Chronomancer, Plasmancer, Royal Warden with Veil of Darkness, 3 Technos, Void Dragon, Xeris, 10 Immortals. They have Tesla. 2 Solo Locust Destroyers, 3 Solo Locust Heavy Destroyers with Gauss Destructors. Weird. What the hell? Okay, 3 squads of 6 Wraiths formatted weirdly, and a Reanimator. So
I think he's got like one squad with like slightly different weapons.
It's like one of whip coils or something.
Whip coils, whatever the hell those do.
They're like strength 4, 0, 1, but they're like double your attacks.
Okay.
They're
So he's got one
clears.
squad with a few whip coils instead of claws. Weird.
Ooh. Yeah, so like there we go right there. There's a list that's running the 18 Wraiths that Canoptic Court is famous for running. But he's playing in Awakened Dynasties.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, there we go. There's one. Alex Taus in the comments is saying there's one squad with 4 whip coils and 2 claws. The rest are all claws. So it's pretty cool. I didn't know you could mix and match their work here this edition. I've just been running mine all claws. So yeah, kind of a lot of similar core stuff with Necrons is Void Dragon / Nightbringer / both. 20 to 30 Immortals. And then Xeris is making a big comeback because Immortals are being played a lot more. And some lists are running Wraiths, some are running Monoliths. There you go.
Makes sense. Very cool. Tao says the idea is that the bonus AP strat from the Awakened Dynasty, there was some kind of use case for the coils because of that.
Yeah. There's a cool stratagem in Awakened Dynasty that's +1 strength and AP for a Necron unit in melee. I think one of those bonuses only works if you have a character in there, but you're only going to be using it on the Wraiths, so they're always going to have a character in there.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, sweet. So that's the Necrons in Vegas. Did well, expecting to stay doing well. Look forward on TAC to hear about Nick's various adventures with them. You taking them to Gongai next week, right?
Yeah, if I can get them painted. We'll see.
Make it happen. Very cool. The other half of the finals of LVO was Eldar, which, Eldar, cool. I don't think there's anything exciting about that.
Nope.
Dialing back to the semis, I don't know if any of y'all pay for the War Games Live Patreon to watch the Eldar mirror match. I'm sure that was riveting. And then the really cool game was watching the Hypercrypt play into the Endless Swarm, which is, I love Endless Swarm. Made me so mad that I didn't bring them because Sam did fantastic with him. He's a very good player. I don't like his list. I mean, I like his list a lot. It's not like mine, but I don't like a couple of things that he did there. I like some things he did. Let me be specific. I think Hormagaunts are interesting. If you've talked to me about them before, I keep yelling about how much I hate them. People have convinced me that they're probably worth trying, so I'm intrigued by that. The Tyrant versus Turvagon debate, I think, is the big thing in Endless Swarm where he and I are going to disagree. And I think that you got to see on display in that game in Delora pretty clearly why I think the Turvagon is such a necessary thing to have. He just got all of his Termagant units whittled down on repeat, and there was just not much that he could do about that situation. And also, he was absolutely just not doing damage to Catan, and Turvagon's kind of solved both of those problems. Catan really don't like getting wounded a ton by 1 damage, no AP stuff. That's not exactly their vibe. And having a bucket of that stuff to throw can really get you places. He also doesn't have any 10-man gargoyle units, which I think is a massive missed opportunity. Every Tyranid list of every detachment needs 10-man gargoyle units. That unit is insane. And putting all your eggs in the single 20-man unit basket is scary to me. But great job, Sam. He made it way farther than I did. I'm sure generaling over here. He obviously knows what he's doing. But very excited to see what the Swarm does in the future. Very scared that that may have some impact on the data slate, because please don't nerf the Swarm. It's all I've got. Were there any other noticeable third-party performances at Vegas that you guys wanted to talk about before I talk about some of the stuff that happened to me?
Nah, not really. No orcs, no chaos knights, boring meta.
I mean, there were some orcs there. You want to talk about Sean?
Oh yeah, Sean absolutely T-posed on box on stream, which was, if you haven't watched that game, I won't spoil it, but there is a funny ending on turn 3, so go watch that. It's on War Games Live. It was so funny. Definitely.
Yeah, if you like watching slimy limeys get absolutely embarrassed, check it out.
There were some interesting Votan lists.
Tell me about it. I'd love to hear about it.
Blue made it to top 16.
Yeah, he beat Sean Naden in round 6 and kept him from the shadow.
He had a bunch of forts, right?
Yeah, he had like 2 forts. He also had like 18 Gravkin, I think.
Yeah, full 18 Gravkin.
Yeah,
2 or 3 Iron Masters.
Yeah, I think he did a very good job preparing for the terrain. I think the weakness of the fort is the fact that it only moves 10 inches, and that it has to use like half of that movement to get like around buildings on GW and WTC terrain formats. On player placed, the forts are not, I wouldn't say insane, but like definitely at their strongest, because you're just able to create a like firing lane on your side of the board. It's also why like the forts and the Gravkin in general are good on most of the GW open maps. They're not really good on the Thunderdome layout 1 or whatever that one is. But they're really decent on those maps like the wide open channels in the middle. I think layout 4 is one of those. I was playing Hecatons a little bit and Thunderkin as well, quite a bit, and I found that they were definitely best when they had wide open firing lanes. So I mean, kudos to him for recognizing the strength of those units on that terrain format and designing a list around them. So yeah, no, there's someone in the chat, Kim, saying, "Let me guess, Sagittars and done." I think he only had 3 Sagittars in his list. I think he opted with the 2 forts. So I don't think I'll be playing forts anytime soon, just because they are much weaker on WTC, in my opinion. And that's usually what we're doing a lot of our preparation work for. But if I manage to, unfortunately find myself at a player place tournament, then I guess I'll bring some forts. So yeah, cool to see some, kind of what we were saying about the Votan Codex last week, where everything kind of has its place and can be made to put in work depending on how you build your list.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Sweet. Well, I think it's about time in the LVO episode to talk a little bit about my personal experience at LVO. For those of y'all who did not catch our last episode talking about it, or 2 episodes ago, I guess, I was running a GSC guard list that I was quite pleased with, that I completely ripped the idea for out of Nick Nanavati's hands, and then perfected, because I'm a genius. No, it did not go very well. We were playing a Brick of Aberrants, 2 Akos, 2 Neos, 3 Primus with a Biophagus, a Mortar Car, and 30 Catechins, 10 Cadians across 4 Taroks. I ended up going 3-3 this weekend, which was really rough. And my losses were all into Power Armor, 2 Space Marines, and a Chaos Space Marines in the form of Thomas Reddy Goatboy, who did the current over there TNG art. Massive shout out to him. Lovely person. We had a really fun game that came down to the very end, and there I was make 1 of 2 9-inch charges with a reroll away. Or no, I don't know if I had a reroll. Make 1 of 2 9-inch charges away from pulling that one out. We had a really good time. Yeah. So the like losing a game, I can mess up. Losing 3 games, the list is messed up. I also messed up, but like clearly I'm missing something here. And what I was missing was that I am very, very used to playing into a very specific sort of player doing a very specific sort of thing. We were practicing the week before, the week before LVO. Like I was practicing into Matt Shuckman and beat the crap out of his Eldar. And I was like, if I can beat Matt Shuckman's Eldar, I can beat anybody. Like, what's the concern here? But people in that sphere who play this like people used to call it an Art of War style. I don't think people call it that as much anymore. But this very cagey, reserved, don't take unnecessary risks style of 40K. And the GSC are really good at forcing the envelope, right? They're very good at saying, hey, we've got 3-inch deep strike bombas. We're coming to you if we need to. We've got aberrants taking up space. I've got all these little guardsman units to run around and trade. And the meta at LVO was just absolutely nothing like that, especially after you lose a game and you end up in the mid-tables. It was just people running bricks of nonsense right at you, which frankly is quite like our local meta in the Northwest as well, but it's just not what I had been practicing into. And on multiple occasions, I had opponents that I would set up plays and I would think, okay, this is great and this is fine. And they'll stay back there and they'll go over there because if they tried to run at me, they'd need like a 9 or 10-inch charge. That'd be ridiculous. I'm totally safe over here. And without fail, every single opponent who I gave the opportunity to make a 9 or 10-inch charge into me went for it. And they did not make all of them. I was not horrifically unlucky, but they made enough of them to lose me some games. But even so, like that shouldn't be the end because like, oh man, that's a big overextension. Like you threw a unit all the way into my backfield. I'm a GSC player. Like you're giving me free shots that I don't have to worry about getting hit back from, and then just like bounced. And it was like, damn. Lost to Space Wolves. Thunderwolf Cavalry just wouldn't die. Lost to Dark Angels because stuff just wouldn't die. Also, going first on 6 objective priority targets against the Land Raider Redeemer is just like a recipe for failure. A lot of fun stuff there. That was probably the best. Oh man, Tyler, you get fucked moment. Was in that round 6 of the Dark Angels. I thought I actually had a pretty good handle on things. Like everything was going to work out fine. I know how to play into a Land Raider Redeemer. I've done this before. My aberrants are going to go be an absolute nuisance in this dude's backfield. They line up for a 4-inch charge into a Company Heroes unit, which they're just going to absolutely body. Like -1 to wound, don't care. Pop anti-infantry 2+, bonk. They're going to go away. They're going to be like on his back edge. It's going to be great. They go for a 4-inch charge. And they fail, and I'm like, all right, I'll just reroll that. That's easy. And the Lion is within 12 of them and says, no, you don't actually get to reroll that. Take a battle shock check, and I failed it. And the aberrants were stuck, dick in the wind, in the middle of the table, like 3 inches from the Lion, with like the entire Dark Angels gun line just shooting. It wasn't a gunline army, but like all of the guns just pointed directly at them.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, that's 500 points down the drain.
Goodbye, aberrants.
Yeah. So that game did not end up going too well. But I had a lot of fun, did a lot of nonsense. I ended up playing into Demons twice, which is wild, because I had literally never played into Mono Demons before. I had no idea what they do. Because, like, that's not a real army in teams. Like, who's playing that? Why do I need to know what demons do? And then they put me into them on stream round 2. And I was like, oh, snap. And you can watch Stream War Games live. We had a lot of fun. I think it was a really good game. And, you know, I leveled the playing field a little bit because my opponent, it was actually his first tournament. He was a very competent player. Like, he made a couple mistakes for sure. But, like, he is not the worst player that I played that weekend by a long shot. I lost to players who were distinctly worse than he was. He put up a really good fight. But yeah, I had no idea what his nonsense did. And I didn't know a lot of the math. And I kept being like, oh man, if you throw bombs at things, they go away. You don't have that many things. I'll throw bombs at them and they'll go away. They did not go away. It's terrifying. It's a fun game to watch on stream of how not to play into demons. I watched back some of the VOD, and Harpster's like, yeah, so Tyler's obviously going to do the smart thing and just take out all the chaff units and completely ignore the big demons because they can't actually... What? And I looked it up, and he's right. I just didn't bother to ask what these big demons did. I assumed they had to be my number one priority, or they'd run rampant through me. And I was just totally played it wrong. But it was a lot of fun. And I pulled that game out. And I pulled the other Demons game out as well. And I beat CSM round 1. But we went down a couple of times. If you are interested in playing the list and you and like Data Slate doesn't turn everything on its head, I think I hate to say it, the list is missing a character, which I hate because I love that it's only got 4 characters in it. And it's not missing a Reductus, despite everyone telling me that I'm crazy for not running a Reductus. You don't need her. You just don't. I have plenty of nonsense to stand in midboard and do actions and stuff. Her damage is nice. I love the Reductus. She's fantastic. You shouldn't not play her fundamentally, but she's a luxury. What the list needs is a Nexus.
Yeah.
And the reason the list needs a Nexus, that's not an optional, that's a needs, is because the way the list wants to operate is every single turn you use Return to the Shadows, or every single battle round. And every single battle round you 3-inch Deep Strike. That's both of your CP for the whole game. You only have 2 Neophyte units. None of them are ever standing on objectives and not getting picked up unless something has gone terribly wrong or terribly right. So that's not real. So you are playing with 0 flex CP until you start discarding tactical secondaries. And you can see in the game I played into Demons, I made a lot of decisions to prioritize those discards because I was just in such desperate need of +1 ballistic skill, +1 AP, perfect ambush, in order to keep the damage machine running. That list just needs 3 CP a battle round, and it only gets 2. So yeah, that was necessary. I think he needs to work his way back in there. I think you probably cut the Chimera for the Cadians pretty comfortably for that. It feels very wonky to be like 1 fewer vehicle and in exchange 1 more character. But it's what you got to do. You start the Cadians in your backfield with them sticky your backfield. The Catechins make their Chimera scout up. They get out. They run. The Cadians turn 1 because they sticky at the bottom of the command phase, not the top. They run up. They get in the car. It's all fine and good. You don't need that 4th hole, I don't think. So that's the adjustment that's got to be made there. But the list still does a thing. It's still good at what it does. I still fundamentally believe in the concept. I probably could have ingressed my aberrants a little bit more than I did. I think I kept them on the table literally every single game, which was overzealous at best and just cocky at worst. They are definitely a unit that can be vulnerable to your opponent making too many invulns, which is not a thing that I've ever seen happen to them, honestly. But I don't play into a lot of invulns, I guess. I didn't think that Blade Guard veterans would be a problem, but here we are. Anyway, so that's what ends up going down in Vegas. I end up getting scooped by Robin Roberts, who pulls ahead going 4-1-1. And ends up winning Best in Faction, which is the only part of this that is crushing to me. Like, none of those games, I'm like, oh man, I'm so embarrassed. I'm an idiot. Going 3-3 in Vegas, cool, whatever. I've gone 3-3 at 2 other majors this year. Like, that's fine. I'm playing not top the meta stuff. It is what it is. But missing out on that Best in Faction award is a massive bummer and has been a genuine struggle on my psyche in the last week or so. I don't think I've ever cared that much about a 40K trophy. So to put it when what I thought was all the work this year and come up empty-handed is it stings, to put it bluntly. So I don't know if that's something that I'm going to be in a position to go for again next year, but it's definitely this if there was going to be a year that it would be easy, it would have been this year. So I'm excited to get back in the ring and focus again on WTC and whatnot, on things that matter more, I guess, in a bigger picture sense. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting on Vegas right now.
Yeah, well, that's a very good breakdown of, I mean, like what you think the weaknesses of your list are and like what you want to change. And I mean, I think I was saying I really appreciate you breaking it down, because when you go to a tournament, you set such high expectations for yourself, or set certain expectations for yourself, and you fall short. That can be disappointing. But there are definitely like lots of good lessons to learn from that. That's how you get better as a player, rather than going dang, this was stupid, the mission was bad, or I rolled poorly. Like, you went and looked at why did this happen. So I think that you got a lot of good stuff out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always
Some good
awesome.
experiences there. The mission was terrible. My dice were awful. It was everyone's fault other than mine, but also the other stuff that I said earlier. Both true. Red Rum points out we do get a GSC Codex this summer. Oh my God, I can't wait. I am so done with this detachment and these points and the way the army works right now. It is just so painful to play.
We were saying last week on our like data slate wish list episode that not only do players that play against GSC probably wish Bombas were nerfed, but players who play GSC probably wish Bombas were nerfed, because the whole army is kind of just built around those, however many of those you decide to bring, and however the judges have decided to rule on them that week. So it's just painful. Like, and like what you're saying, you want to be playing like the Necron Hypercrypt, kind of like a few units that do decent amounts of damage and just jank all over the place. But it kind of ends up coming down to, all right, let's pump 3 CP into this one unit, and if it whiffs, I maybe lose the game. Yeah. And if it doesn't whiff, my opponent gets to go, Bomba charges are under cost.
Yeah, I think the best indication.
Not fun for either player.
No, it's never fun. Yeah, because either I'm molding that my thing didn't work, or my opponent's molding that it did, because the thing that it tries to do is stupid. But also like the fundamentals of how the pickup put down works, of this constant, like, my entire game plan is I need to keep these neophytes safe for the entire game so they can shoot ludicrously efficiently every single turn. And if I don't do it perfectly, I immediately lose the game and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, it sucks so hard, because when it works, your opponent is like, what the hell is going on? There's nothing I can do about it. And you're like, yeah, I did it right this time. And when it doesn't work, you're like, damn, I got tagged on turn 2.
Like that orc practice game that we played.
Yeah, where it was like, oh man, everything, like, I'm gonna obliterate this. This is all perfect. And then
I was pre-malding about that game.
You were so malding.
I was mad. I thought I would had no chance, and then the 20-man boys squad used +2 to charge and rolled a 8 up to a 10 and tagged the neophytes, and the game instantly ended. Like, okay, awesome, dude.
It's not pleasant. So the thing that's I cut myself off there. The thing that I think is most indicative that the army is in an unhealthy place is when you hear about people who don't play, who hear about what the army does from the perspective of people who don't play it. They have no idea what's happening. Like, you listen to when I was listening to the VOD of the stream that I was on, I was listening to Joe from War Games Live talk about GSC, and he was like, oh man, and secondaries. GSC love secondaries. They got all those little trash units that are so good at secondaries. GSC are one of the worst secondary armies in the game right now, and it's not close. They're so bad at it.
Especially if you're not running guard. Like, yikes.
Yes, the only reason my army can do secondaries is because of the guard. Right? If you're playing mono GSC, your action monkeys are reductus saboteurs. You have a character who has 3 wounds at T3. She dies to a stiff breeze, and she's 80 points.
They picked Assassinate, so she might be giving you like 2 points here and there, but she gives up 4 points the instant she dies.
Yeah. We need to go back to our roots of being an army of trash. I love this army because it's an army of idiots, right? The whole cult ambush mechanic was designed to bring out this idea of, oh, it's just unending hordes of idiots going all over the table, uprising and doing sneaky little things. And they refused to, I was so clear about what they had to do to this army to make it not stupid, which was to pull the rug out from under the damage. And we've done the opposite, and we've just pushed and pushed and pushed to the point that there is no trash. There is only damage, right? You are just hitting things as hard as you can and hoping that it's enough. And that is never a fun way for an army to exist, especially not one that is as tricksy as GSC. All of my rules feel wasted, right? Like, Lone Op is a break glass in case of emergency because I didn't deploy my unit perfectly kind of situation. Not a, oh, haha, this unit over here or that you thought was going to be nothing actually scores a bunch of points. Like, no. I want GSC that is hypercrypt, that is pick up, put down all the time at 3 inches. Do it. Just do it. Just give me everybody 3-inch deep strikes and give me everybody pick up, puts down and give me 0 damage. None, not even a little bit. It would be so much fun, right? It would feel like you are walking into a cult city and suddenly the entire population is turned against you and you don't know who you can trust, and every sewer grate and every cargo container might contain evil alien hybrids who, I mean, you could take one in a fight very easily. It's just a dude and you're a space marine, but like they're everywhere, dude. What's going on? Like, that's what this army is supposed to be, in my opinion, at least. And hopefully at least one of our detachments gives me that opportunity, because being the second highest DPS army in the game after CSM is a very silly place for GSC to be. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What's remind me, because at this point for a lot of the indexes, I've kind of blended the detachment and army rule together in my head.
For sure. The army rule is Colt Ambush. The blips and the recycle. The detachment ability is on the turn when you arrive from deep strike, sus1 ignores cover.
Cool. So based off what we've seen from the codexes like released so far, like they all create very unique and interesting ways to play different units in your book. There does seem to be a common theme of like there are core like very good units that are very good across all or most of the detachments. And then certain units that shine in certain detachments. So yeah, I'm really excited to see the GSC Codex as well, because unfortunately, I don't think this is like a redesign that they're going to put a lot of work to in the index, because all that energy is probably like,
there's no reason to.
Yeah, all the energy is being put into probably your Codex. But I do, fingers crossed that one of your 5 detachments is Army of Trash Monkeys.
Yeah, we're going to get it at a Muscle Beach detachment. We're going to get the Anointed Throng back. I'm sure of it. I hope it's awesome. I love Aberrants. They're so cool. But yeah, Trash Monkeys. Give me a Trash Monkey detachment. It would be great. But speaking of Trash Monkeys, I have the Endless Swarm to play, so I can't complain that hard about not having infinite bullshit, because there's always more bullshit where that came from.
The Endless Swarm honestly makes me optimistic that they actually are going to be able to make Horde work this edition, whereas like throughout the course of 9th edition it was basically just like MSU and good stuff is the only way to play the game, and we had a little bit of that at the start of 10th. Still, it was very elite, but we're starting to get a little bit of Horde back. Like if we can make Tyranids one of like the 3 or 4 main Horde armies in the game, a decent Horde army, then maybe Orcs and GSC can be Hordes as well. I would be really excited if that was a thing, because
you remember when Demons was a Horde army?
I miss that so much. Cutting down to 10-man troop squads was an affront. They could half all of the points on the Demons troops, and I think they would be in a good spot. Like, good lord, those guys are fucking terrible. Demons being an army of I take 2 squads of,
except Nurglings. Don't have the cost of Nurglings, please.
A complete tangent, by the way, but Demons being the army of like, here are my 5 greater demons and then like 6 Nurgling bases and then 1 beast of Nurgle is so stupid. That is so dumb, and that's the way it's been for like the last 3 years or something like that. The 9th Ed Demons book was all right, because at least you could run like some horrors and bloodletters and they were decent. But I honestly hope Demons go back to that like Jim, I almost said Liam VSL. The Jim Vessels. The Slanesh build was kind of cool.
At the very end of 9th was very cool.
Yeah.
But I miss the Vessel style where like there's like the 4 sorcerers in the middle who are just blasting out mortals, and there's like 120 plague bears that are just body blocking it the whole time. That was so sick and so unique. And everyone who complained about that was a big baby who didn't like that their opponent 40K.
I really miss
that list every week.
Yeah, I miss that build. I miss Be'lakor and the Pinks, dude. That army was hilarious.
That army was funny.
I love any army that builds itself around like one problem and is like, hey, here's the problem. I think those are just like fundamentally pretty easy to balance, because if there's only one problem, once you've solved the one problem, the counterplay gets like things go pretty easily from there. And Demons presented a really fun problem with Be'lakor and the Pinks. That unit was very silly. And while it's probably for the best that chain respawns went away, I miss him, dude. That was funny.
Yep.
But yeah. So yeah, hopefully we see that in the GSC Codex in the summer. You'll definitely be getting a great review of that situation. We'll probably get myself and Innes, and I don't know who else plays GSC. That's around. Maybe we'll get McDougal or something, or Lennon or whatever. But there will definitely be stat check related GSC content around when that comes out. I'm very excited for it. But yeah, in the meantime, just turn the points down a little bit, please. Like, the rules are fine. It does the thing. Just let me have like one more unit. Anything, please. Frankly, I want guard point drops so that I can fit more stuff in my 500 more than anything else.
You have 9 units. You have 8 units in your 500 points. Relax.
Yeah, and I want one more. I need 5 more points. I need you to decrease the Tarox by 1 point and decrease Cadian squad by 1 point. And then I can fit my my Cyclops in there, and then I'd be happy. That's all I need. Give me 5 points of guard, baby. 5 points.
Do you want to give your own little review of how the LVO was this year? Because I know that
totally
got renovated. Like, I'm genuinely curious as someone who didn't.
Totally. I admittedly cannot say a lot about the Rio because I did not stay at the Rio. I crashed on Ben Jurek's couch, and I keep saying couch, but like it was a guest room. He's a fantastic host. Love him. Massive shout out to Ben and Danielle Jurek who put me up. Absolutely wonderful experience. Would recommend. Though I don't know that they're open for public. Anyway, whatever the case, that was great. As a convention center situation, it was fine. Supposedly there's a new food court. I couldn't find it. People told me they went there. I'm really bad at directions, so this is on me, not on the Rio. People said it's good, so I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the menu options online, and the big things will look cheap, which is nice.
That's awesome.
Because finding food in Vegas that was like less than $40 a meal or whatever was like pretty hard.
Yeah. Staying with Ben, I was able to pay basically nothing for breakfast, and I managed to get lunch in exchange for labor both days. Shout out to our boy Noah Badome, who bought me lunch on day one for like I was way up in the line and he was at the very end of the line, and he was like, "Hey, I'll buy you lunch if you order my lunch," and that worked out very well. But so basically, we just went out for 2 nice dinners, and again, big shout out to the Jureks. We went to some incredible dim sum and dumpling noodle situation. I'm not an expert in East Asian cuisine, but it was incredible. The first night we went to a really good steakhouse. The second night, but the actual LVO experience is fine. I'm not going to rant about player plays terrain because you can hear other people do that all the time. It's really bad. It's terrible. I will rant about one very specific piece of player plays terrain, which pisses me off to absolutely no end. And I didn't really even talk to any of the judges about it because I didn't play on these tables. But LVO made, the funny hills. Let me pull this thing up so we can talk about why this is so dumb. I don't follow FLG player packs that religiously when I'm not going to their events. So I don't know how long ago they made this change, but they've made a couple of changes to the way that player place works. Let me go share screen, and we're gonna go just that Chrome tab, share. Cool. This is the old champs table. There were a bunch of these. They were not high tables, so if you did well, you wouldn't have to play on them, but everyone has to play somewhere random round one, so you never know. And you'll notice if you look very closely and have your glasses on, that these big foam hills that were kind of a staple of LVO for a while, back when they were actually doing fixed layouts in 9th edition or 8th edition, actually, back in the day when this was the premier terrain set. Wild that was the way the world worked back then. They always treat these foam things as hills. They were impassable, just like a crate or something. You can't stand on top of them, but they're not obscuring. And then recently they were obscuring. Well, now they have these little acrylic bases, which you can see that little 1B star in the bottom right is probably the easiest way to see one. But all 4 of them are depicted on acrylics, like GW style acrylics. They're not a normal GW size or anything. I don't know what dimensions they are, but they're just a big rectangle of acrylic. And then the hill sits on top of it, because I guess it wasn't clear where the footprint was. I don't know why they made this decision, but they did it. And they probably wasted a ton of money thinking that was somehow going to improve the table. When we said just put your terrain on acrylics, like this was not what we were talking about remotely. But that's neither here nor there. What is here and there is that they're ruins now. So they're breachable, which is cool, and they're regular obscuring, which is cool. But what's not cool is that there was a rule introduced to player place terrain sometime since the last time I went to an FLG event, which ruins these. Which is that you can put the base of your terrain on top of the chip now, which is really cool. It was always very silly having to be careful to keep the terrain off the chip. But any vertical walls of ruins, so like not the like funny struts that are going on this building in the bottom left, not the base of the ruin, but like the actual vertical wall needs to be not just off the chip, but a full 1 inch away from the chip. I have no idea why they thought this was necessary. There is not a single piece of terrain that interacts with this in any meaningful way. Saying they can't be on the chip, totally reasonable. I don't think that matters either, but like, sure, you can do that. That's fine. The fact that terrain can be on the chip if now, even while doing this, is great. For example, on Chaos Table, the big funny box becomes a really great home field protector, because you can stick it right in the very, very middle, and all the inches are more than 1 inch off, and you just put your little squad back there and you're good to go. That piece is otherwise very awkward. But this table has the worst thing, which is that those foam hills at every point on every foam hill are 2 inches across at the narrowest. Quick bit of kindergarten maths here. 1 inch away from the chip plus 2 inches of wall means you're at minimum a full 3 inches, and by definition, basically, further than 3 inches from the chip if you're behind the wall. If you're not within 3 inches of the chip, you're not holding the objective. These pieces of terrain are literally useless if you want to hold a midfield objective. The only piece of terrain on this table behind which you might hide while holding a midfield objective with any sense of actual safety is your giant fuck off piece, which you better pray to whatever spiritual power you believe in was based in such a way that you can be behind in the wall on the objective without the wobbly blob of a base cracking over the halfway line of the table, which you could on most of them. That is obviously not how this table was intended to be used, and it's a horrific oversight on the part of the judges. I think that people probably didn't play this correctly because they didn't read the packet if they were playing on these tables, but this irks me to no end. So that was awful. It's wild to me that some of these other bad tables are still in there. We talked about some of them in the past. Did I have this rant 2 weeks ago? Am I repeating myself?
I recall I was downstairs getting water. I didn't hear most of that, but I recall you ranting about field base, or not field base, old champs.
Okay, so you've heard the rant before. Apologies. I'm gonna do it again. But the fact that like Urban City is still in play is wild to me. Just what are we doing? What are we doing? There's the fact that Orc Table is still in play is wild to me. Gothic Ruins is horrific, and yet somehow I consider it like that's the bar, that's acceptable.
It's definitely among the better tables.
It's somehow like one of the best. Playing player placed on GW is so silly. I hated doing it on stream. I hated doing it off stream. It's a stupid thing that shouldn't be a thing. Hopefully this is the last I think they're doing Cherokee is still going to be player placed. Hopefully we're done shortly thereafter, guys. Just like, please make more terrain. You're a terrain making company. You have the assets. It's just a money thing. You have to do it. We cannot keep going like this. I really hope that I have incentive to go to BAO this year because I do not want to go to another player-placed event ever, and certainly not a Bay Area Open. That would be a massive.
Yeah, if BAO is player-placed trained, I'm not going.
Yeah, if I go, it's to hang out with Ian. Like,
fucking true.
That's right. Like I still want to go back to the Bay. Like going back to the Bay Area to play 40K is great, but like honestly, maybe I would skip BAO and go to like an RTT up at like, or not RTT, like a small GT at like Mad Alpaca or something. Or if the boys up in Sacramento at Hobby Badger are doing a fixed terrain GT, we go to that.
I mean, if it's the same amount of money to go to Cali and play BAO as to give Ian the money to get on a fucking train and get up here to play at Cascade Clash or Rosehammer, then you know where my dollars are going, brother. I'm getting my boy up here.
Absolutely, dude. We'll make it happen. I think he can't make Cascade Clash, but he might be able to make Rosehammer. Ian, if you're listening, we love you and we want you to come play more tournaments with us. Also, that Monolith is looking sick, dude. I'm very.
It's really sexy. Big rock.
Yeah. Anyway, so the terrain at LVO still sucks. That's a bummer. Other things about LVO. There were no BCP issues this year. That was great. He's got the gits. Oh, that looks so good with the checkerboard. You want to see what I've been working on?
What you got? Oh, the Colonel, dude. Let's go.
It was that the limited edition Catachin that everyone shit their pants about, and he sold
Absolutely.
them for like $100.
And I am not selling mine for $100. I am turning him into a Primus.
Let's go, dude.
Very sick. I realized that I have like 2 sick ones that I converted out of guard that are various degrees of sick, and then I just use a regular one like one of these for my bomb squad, and I hate him. So like, why not convert up a third one? And he's coming out great. I was panicking for a minute there because his he's got like a big knife sword thing, you know, like a Bowie knife on his back, and it's kind of attached to his little cloth back here. And I was like, that should really be a bone sword because he's a Primus. And I was so scared that I was going to absolutely ruin it because it's such a sick knife. Like the knife was getting ruined, no question, if I was going to convert it. But the sword actually, I think, ended up working out really well. I think it looks really good in there, and the scale is perfect. So, anywho, yes, the terrain is what it is.
Are you keeping the head on that guy? Or are you making?
That's what I'm debating. I'm going back and forth between those. I got to go into my bits to find a different head to swap him with, but he's very cool. I also got to decide if I want to keep his plasma pistol or do a needle pistol in one way or another. Whatever the case. The other parts of LVO that people were talking about, the officiating, in my experience, was fine. I try to involve judges as little as possible because I just hate confrontation, and I really dislike having to watch a judge try to explain to someone who like actively refuses to think about 40K on like a complicated level, how a complicated rule works. I'd rather just say, fine, you can do your thing. I lost games because of that. But there was a couple situations that I think were officiated pretty weirdly. In particular, if you look through the BCP, there was that situation with Chase Chappell where he ended up scooping against Olivas because Daniel Olivas was being Daniel Olivas, and the judges decided that was fine, which is a massive bummer there. I know there were some other situations as well. I appreciated the FAQ being done in advance, so they were very willing to take a look at a lot of rulings that were initially wrong in there. And, you know, I don't know if any of them are getting paid, the judges. I sure fucking hope they are. I'm more mad about that than anything else if they're not getting paid. But they are taking time out of, I believe, like all of them have day jobs to be editing all that stuff. So I really appreciate them being willing to make all those accommodations and whatnot, making all the rules changes. Yeah. Other than the terrain, I think it's about what you'd expect from any event of that size. We ragged on the missions till the cows came home 2 weeks ago. And I maintain that they were not good. I know that y'all are real into y'all are real into 6 objective take and hold, and you hate 6 objective criminals. You like 6 objective take and hold on sweeping engagement in particular.
Yeah, that's a good mission.
Yeah, that one's fun.
Yeah. 6 objective pryos sweeping engagement, the version of that
Terrible.
we had to change, so bad.
Terrible.
That was
Makes the
awful.
ties so much more likely.
That was what I played into the Land Raider Redeemer, and he went second, and he was like, cool, the Land Raider Redeemer parks in the middle on both center objectives.
Yeah.
Over to you. And I was like, all right, that's cool, dude.
Yeah, the fact that one model can hold 2 objectives this edition is pretty silly.
I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal. I just think the pryos it's just so bad.
Pryos
Because not only can I not really deny your primary without holding you all the way to a 5, in addition to that, for going second, you're getting 15 at the end of the game. And like there's 6 objectives, so it's 15-15. Like you're getting.
What we just start doing.
What's that?
Especially on things like our stat reps, is playing of these mission combos that we've talked about before. We need to play Sights of Power on Crucible of Battle. We need to play Scorched Earth on Sweeping Engagement. Like, people have whined and bitched so much that the missions are boring now because we've played the same 5 missions at every PAC Northwest event, and every other event in the country is playing the same from the same set of like 10 missions, and 5 of them are terrible and 5 of them are acceptable. Like, there are other combinations in this pack that are probably worth exploring, and maybe the ones that I just listed aren't all that amazing, but like, we don't know until we try. Yeah. So we should start playing some of those combinations, because there's a lot of primary missions that are underexplored right now because they're only played on Dawn of War, Hammer, and Anvil, and they kind of happen to suck on those deployment types.
I totally agree. We don't need to play Crucible Take and Hold every single stat rep, as much as some of us would like to. Yeah, very cool. Exciting. But yes, LVO overall, it gets like a B-, I guess. Last year it got a solid C, so like that's improvement technically. But I mean, no one showed up this year, and like you could tell. LVO, I remember 2 years ago going to LVO and being like, this is the craziest thing ever. Holy shit, that's Nick Nanavati. Oh my God, that's that's Andrew Gagno. Holy shit. That's Sean Naden. Oh wow, like look at all these people that I have seen on stream and know of, and some of whom I know and a lot of whom I'd like to know. This is crazy. And they're all hanging out and chatting, and new stuff is happening, and they're going to go play. Like, it's going to be awesome. I could play any of them. And we did play some of them. It was amazing. And then year 2, the year that the Euro showed up in force, we were like, this is the craziest thing ever. That's Vic Vijay. That's David. No, David didn't come. Or did David come that year?
He was there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
he was playing Yanari, I think. No, he was playing T-Suns as well.
No, he played the T-Suns
he lost
game against Vanilla on stream, like in the pre. That's when they did that stupid.
The shoe. Yeah, that's David Gaylord. Or that's Ennis Wilson. Like, oh my gosh, look at all this cool Euro.
So big last year too that they even had to throw in a second hole.
Yeah,
the low tables.
I believe this is the first year in LVO history, unless the pandemic did this, where the event has shrunk. Like, if that doesn't show you that you need to make a change, FLG, like, I don't know what will. And part of that is definitely in part that is definitely due to the World Championship of Warhammer becoming a thing. That sort of took the spotlight as this is the big end of the year event. It's not whatever the FLG guys are doing, but it was also, people don't like LVO for a reason. And I think that if last year everyone had said, yeah, it's fine, this year people would have said, yeah, cool, it's getting, love that little year-over-year incremental improvement. But given the degree of scathing vitriol that was thrown back at Vegas in terms of feedback last year, I was rather disappointed to not see the kind of improvement that I would certainly want to make if I were in charge of that kind of thing. I understand the logistics are complicated. The event didn't grow. Your bottom line is going to be complicated if something pretty drastic doesn't happen sooner rather than later. And I will say, it is. Champions Cup is happening this year. That's going to be the coolest event in the history of the United States. I'm very hyped to see that happen. The Rose City Ruffians will be out in force. It's going to be sick. But, yeah, we'll We'll see if
All
that
I'm
ends
gonna
up being
say, all I'm gonna say about Championship is all you Art of War teams and all you Team USA fools with your stupid pansy armies and hiding, you guys are about to get the taste of the North. I'm gonna eat my fucking words so hard, but you guys are gonna get the taste of the Northwest, baby. You're gonna get some big bricks shoved right in your face. We're gonna run at you. We're gonna deploy on the line. We're gonna show you what's up.
Somebody clip that and play it back after he gets absolutely tabled by Nanavati or something later. It's going to be great.
Yeah, dude.
Tabled
You got
by the most
Lucas
passive
Unleashed.
player on the planet. What are you talking about?
Unleashed on
Is it
full 100% grown American beans, dude. He's gonna be unstoppable.
I'm gonna come to
None of
the
those,
event with 20 cans
weird
of
Belgian
Hostess.
beans that we.
Yeah,
had
those
to
were
feed.
those made me uncomfortable, dude. That's why I lost to Vic.
The Belgian beans.
The
I don't know.
Belgian
You
beans
were
got me
happy to have
underpowered.
them.
I was happy to
It
have
wasn't.
them.
You weren't powerful enough though.
He was
Needed-
deceived. He was excited by the beans, but the beans took from him that
He
which he
was.
desired.
Nick, what kind of terrain you want to play in tomorrow? WTC?
Probably GW. Just because like we have Gongai coming up in 2 weeks, which is GW.
It's true. I was just wondering if you wanted to play on WTC so we could put in data reporting.
Yeah, how's your quota going, Nick?
That works well as well.
I'm happy to play on either one. I just let me know tonight so I can get it set up before I go to bed.
Have you played on our new WTC set yet, Nick?
No, I haven't played on the physical set yet. No.
It's fun.
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's do
WTC
it.
and GW are pretty close, especially if we play like a WTC mid-terrain board. That seems kind of similar.
Yep.
So
Cool. I'll
Yeah.
set us up. Sights of Power, Crucible of Battle, baby. Let's fucking go.
Let's go, dude.
It's going to be fun.
hell yeah.
Cool.
Sweet.
Well, no, but then we can't report it because that's not a WTC mission.
It
No,
is.
you're-
Sights of Power is a primary.
Yeah.
Isn't
You're allowed to play not exact WTC missions as long as the primaries aren't nonsense. So no no ritual, no
just making sure.
Yeah.
It'll be good
Yeah,
data.
if you mix and match the deployments, then you're allowed to report it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is going to be me learning how. I'm definitely going to get too cutesy with this. I was describing Hypercrypt to Tanner as on paper, it kind of feels like Yinkarn, the detachment, where you have like near infinite possibilities of like where to go to. But if you think about it too hard, you end up just pulling off the Q play and like it was really cool, but then you lose by 30. Because you get run over.
And
So I definitely think there's going to be a little bit of that tomorrow as I figure out the fine line between cute and effective.
Well, luckily for you, orcs are definitely not a high pressure army that punish cutesy plays.
Yep, definitely not.
Yeah, our Hypercrypt player in the little 5v5 teams we did at Ordo last night went into the orcs and was like, "This is gonna be great," and he came back with a 0.
Yeah. That seems like
Which,
a
by the way, let's talk about that for
real-
just like 30 seconds. Which that was so cool.
Go for it, dude.
So there's a little clubhouse in Portland called the Ordo Fanaticus Clubhouse, which is like towards downtown from our house anyway. Cute little attic clubhouse. And basically people have been getting together there Wednesday nights to play games, like normal weekday 40K night stuff. But someone had the idea, I forget if it was Warwick or who exactly had the idea, to make it a teams night where basically if we get enough people together, say 10 or more people, we can get some teams going, do a little like high school PE basketball style, like draft your team, pick one at a time, make sure people have the factions split, and then from there break into separate groups because we have such a wide variety of like experience with teams. We have some people who have like been to Brood Wars once, so that they're aware of it and they've played in a team event. And then we have 3 people who have been to WTC in Portland. And then we have a bunch of people who are hyped about it. So it's like, let's get everyone together, use the experience of those who have been to a lot of bigger events to teach the new folks about teams, especially with the upcoming prevalence of teams in 2024 in the US. It's going to be cool to get a lot of the Portland folks kind of fast-tracked on that kind of stuff. So we had our first round last night, which was pretty cool. Tyler and I were both team captains, and we ended up tying 53-47 in a 5v5 event, which was pretty cool. And I'm excited for the next round. It's going to be really fun, especially as more and more people come. Hopefully we can get like 6v6 or 8v8 in the near future. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We got real lucky that there wasn't any double faction overlap. I'm very scared if we get to a full 16, we're going to have like 4 world leader players.
I mean, that might happen. It kind of is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like a Wednesday only thing?
Yeah, because they have their normal Wednesday night thing. So I think trying to shift to a new day is going to be difficult.
Well, maybe I'll try and figure out my ability to come on down next week or future weeks.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine that next week might be challenging for all of us, as that's probably slate team night, which may on the USA side take over.
Yeah, we're going to be prepping for Pyra.
But yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very exciting. That was a ton of fun. Big shout out to my boys who kicked butt. Well, some of them did, some of them less so, but y'all did great. I'm very proud of every one of you. I'm excited to see how things go in the future. Big shout out to my opponent on your team, Lucas, my boy John. That guy, we had a great Votan.
I love John.
He was awesome.
John's a fantastic player.
John Siebert?
John Siebert, yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's how to pronounce his name. He's one of those folks. I mean, there's a lot of them in the Northwest, but like Alex Pena, Enrique, and John are probably like my top 3 for like most improved and also most potential to get even better in the next year. So I hope he starts coming to more events because he's really good at the game.
Yeah. He came into that game with a learning mentality, and I was shocked because I don't mean to speak disparagingly of other people, but like usually when I 18-2 somebody, they don't want to know how to do better. They're like, man, that sucked. This is stupid. I want to go home. And like from the moment the game started, he was like, okay, cool. How do we do this better? What am I like? How do I want to get every drop out of this game that I possibly can. And he learned really quickly. I'm excited to see that dude in 6 months.
Yeah. Sounds cool.
I met him at Rosehammer last year after he got smacked around by Ryan's World Eaters, and he was playing Votan. And I was playing Votan. And he was like, hey, how do you deal with World Eaters of Votan? And he's just super pleasant to talk to. So we had a great conversation, and every time I see him at tournaments or around in Portland, I love just checking in. So yeah.
All of his armies are also beautiful.
Oh yeah, he's a fantastic hobbyist.
They look so sick. They look so cool.
Yeah, very exciting.
Sweet.
Very cool.
All right,
Yes,
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's a wrap on the show, on the season, on the network. Yeah.
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's been Lucas is just gonna fall over fucking laughing at himself and his own bodily functions. Some things never change, but a lot has. It's been a pretty wild 2 years over here. Nice and poetic that we can nail it on the 3rd LVO episode on the nose. But what starts in Vegas ends in Vegas, and I'm very excited to see where we're headed next. Over to the network. So if you are not currently subscribed to Stat Check on YouTube, do that right now. We don't need to be there to convince you to do that. They're fantastic as they are. But that's where you'll be finding us. You'll find us there and on their feeds wherever you get your podcasts. We're going to be making bit rep, or not bit reps anymore. They are now stat reps over there as well. So look forward to that. Same kind of content. Going to try to get a little more polish on those things. So maybe a bit of delay before the first one of those goes out, but look forward to that. Absolutely. If you've got suggestions for things that you'd like to see going on in terms of the new show and new formatty stuff, anything in that realm, things you'd like to see from us, let us know either in the BIFPOD Best in Tabletop Network Discord or the Stat Check Discord, or just message us wherever. The Best in Tabletop Discord, by the way, is not going anywhere. They're keeping that around because it doesn't cost anything. And it is, in fact, now open to the public by invitation. So if you're interested in joining that community to talk with cool people, or if you maybe were there in the past and weren't so excited about continuing to pay for that with some of the economic things that have been happening in your life, totally understand. You're totally welcome back. We're opening that back up. So you can find us there. You can find us in the Stat Check Discord for sure. And you can find us on the new show. Yeah. Anything else, you guys? Oh, I mean, I should plug a couple of things. The big thing to plug is Cascade Clash, my boys. That is coming up in like 6 weeks, 5 weeks. That's so soon. It's like the second weekend in March, right? March 3rd through 5th, something like that.
I think it's the second weekend, but
It's the 9th. It's the March 8th through 10th. That's what it is.
What?
Isn't it?
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong month. Yes.
Yes, March 8th through 10th. They announced today some real hype stuff about Cascade Clash. They are putting 20% of ticket sales into prize support.
Let's go.
Which means they have a capacity of 150 people, which means the prize support has a capacity of $3,000.
Yeah. Show up.
In addition to that, the U.S. Wargaming Federation has donated $250 in the form of a hotel reimbursement that are also getting handed out to the winner of that event. Just a lot of money to go around, which is super exciting. But don't just come for the money. Come because it's going to be a sweet event. They've got an awesome setup going. There's going to be actually good fixed trains being run by the Aegis Games guys, Noah Badome of Best Overall, JT Steiger, Lee Steiger, and the rest of the guys up there. Nick Villegas, I'm sure, is intimately involved. Yeah, love Nick. We're going to be there. It's gonna be really cool, and you don't get to do a lot of 3-day events these days, especially not in the Northwest. Like, we basically don't have those other than Tacoma, so definitely a good one to show out for. It's going to be a really good time. There are discounts available on hotel rooms if you're a part of the event. Check out the links in the player pack and the BCP and whatnot. I will also say BCP is terrible. If you can't find the thing in the show notes or anywhere else, don't search for Cascade. Search for Aegis, Aegis. That makes it show up. I have theories about why that happens, but this is not the time or place to explain them. But find in the event on BCP, it's going to be great. But yeah, so there's stuff in there. You can get discount hotel rooms. They're also doing food there. They're bringing in a taco truck to get real cheap dinner for everybody, which is going to be awesome. It's going to be a ball and a biscuit. You're not going to want to miss it, Alex Taus. Thank you for reminding me. I almost forgot. So that's coming up. Shortly after that is going to be Rosehammer at the Hilton by Doubletree in Portland, Oregon. We're obviously going to be there. It's going to be awesome. So get hyped for that. Definitely check out the rest of the shows on the Stat Check Network. Check out the final Best in Faction. It's this Sunday. I don't know what they're going to talk about, but I'm sure it's going to be sweet and sappy, and a lot of that kind of good stuff that they're known for.
I have one question for you, Tyler.
What's that?
Is it ball in a biscuit or ball and a biscuit?
Oh, it's and, not in. Yeah, Tao said that wrong.
Get fucked, Alex.
That's a White Stripes reference. To be clear, I didn't make that saying up. That's a song. I just say it a lot because it's fun to say. Hey, he's got his bad rep going on. That looks sick. Very cool. Anyway, those are the plugs. Check out the other shows on this network. Check out the other shows on Stat Check. Stat Check X and 1 into the Matrix. I think X and 1 is recording like as we speak, or it's 1 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm sure they're done by now, but they also recorded tonight. They do lots of cool stuff. And yeah, hope you're gonna join us in the new world. So with all that said and done, I've been Tyler.
I've been Nick.
See you idiots on Stat Check. I'm still Lucas, baby.
Thank you so much for the last 2 years. And we look forward to the rest of them. Thank you.